Hey guys, it's Bettina here. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately and I thought that it's time to probably start doing more than just emailing back one response at a time and starting to answer some of those questions I get all the time here on video, so I can just say, go and watch that video and it's got all the answers for you. So recently I got a question from a beautiful lady called Courtney, and she's asked, I've never practiced yoga before, I'm 6 weeks pregnant and I don't know where to start. Can you help me with that? So great question. Pregnancy is often a time where we first come to yoga. Lots of doctors recommend that you go and practice yoga because it's considered a gentle practice and one that can work with your body throughout all of the stages of pregnancy. So it's a really good one to start whilst pregnant, but there are some things that you should know before you just jump straight into a yoga practice. So before we get into it, I just wanted to share with you why practice yoga while pregnant. There are lots of reasons why it's going to be great for you while you're pregnant, but I have a top 3 that I'd like to share with you today. So number 1, it's going to make your body feel better. So as your body is growing and expanding, things start to ache. Some things don't feel like they're in the same place anymore, and yoga is a way to help balance all of that, all of those changes out. The second reason is it helps with recovery time. So after birth, you're going to have a period of time where everything is still kind of getting back to its original place and strength. And a yoga practice during pregnancy and then early afterwards is going to help you get back to not your old self, but somewhere close sooner rather than later, because particularly we're going to focus on that pelvic floor, which is obviously an area that does go under a lot of strain during pregnancy. And my last reason why you should practice yoga while pregnant is got to be the number 1, and it's that it prepares you for birth. Let's not pretend that the main event is not on all of our minds. Even if we've done it before, it can still be something that's playing on our mind as I've got to do that again. And yoga gives you all the tools that you need to prepare for that, to prepare the body and to deal with the fear that comes up around birth. So that's why you should practice yoga while pregnant, and my top 3 reasons. Let's get into where do you start, especially if you've never practiced yoga before. So if you have been practicing yoga before, you can probably keep going with your practice and just make it really gentle for that first trimester. Remember, the body is doing lots of work when we're pregnant. It's creating a human from basically nothing. So you don't want to stress it out during that first trimester at all. If you've never practiced yoga before, probably not the time during first trimester to start. Again, you're welcome to practice meditation. You can just do some really gentle stretches, but I wouldn't go on and think I'm going to do a yoga class. I wouldn't go and join a gym or go to a studio and expect to do a whole class in this first trimester. Wait until you get that beautiful energy rush of trimester 2. That's a great place to start with a stronger yoga practice then. So if you are in first trimester, obviously Courtney is, she'll be waiting until she hits about 12 weeks. She feels that energy starting to return, and then you can start doing some more classes. So you could join a studio. When you're pregnant, a pregnancy specific class is great because you also get to meet a lot of mums, usually at the same stage as you, and you get a little pre-formed mothers group. If you can't make it to a studio, I've got lots of classes in my online yoga circle that are specific for pregnancy. So you don't have to make any modifications. I'll be talking specifically to what's going on in your body, and you can trust that what you're doing is going to be safe for you and of course safe for bub. All right, let's get into the general do's and don'ts so that maybe if you do go to a regular yoga class, you know how to modify and you know what's right for your body. Or if you just want to get on your mat and do your own thing, you can know what to do and what not to do. So generally when we're pregnant, we don't like anything on the belly. And if you're pregnant, you're probably already feeling that. So even in the early stages, like tight pants don't feel good. And that's the body's way of telling you that you really want to keep any compression off the belly. So you want to take any pants higher. Yep, sexy, I know, right up high or really low. So it's not pressing on the belly. You don't want to be lying on the belly. It sounds obvious, but I have had women in some classes lying on their belly and I'm like, is that comfortable? And they've said no. And I'm like, well, get off. You don't have to do it. Hop off your belly. So no lying on the belly. No closed twist. So we often do twisting in yoga where we twist towards a leg. So you don't want to twist so that there's any compression on the belly. You can always twist the opposite way so you're nice and open and nothing is pressing on that belly. Generally, we're not practicing inversions while we're pregnant, which is where our feet are above our head, just because we don't want to, again, stress the body. There's risk of falling. If you've got a strong yoga practice and that is in your practice, so you may be seeing pregnant women doing inversions, we see it all the time on social media, that's okay, it's their body, they're in control of it. But if you're just starting a yoga practice, I wouldn't be even thinking about inversions at this stage. There's plenty of time for that once bub is born. So some other things you need to be aware of. When you're pregnant, your body is releasing relaxin. So it's a hormone that's letting everything open up, because of course your belly needs to open up, your hips need to open up, everything is opening at this stage. Unfortunately, relaxin opens everything, and it doesn't open just the areas that we need it to. So there is risk of overstretching. So if you're stretching into even just the legs, you can push too hard. So just be gentle, come back a little bit from your absolute maximum stretch so that you're not going to be stretching too far. So thinking also about that opening with the belly, we need to be aware that the muscles are opening to accommodate for baby. So what you want to do is not put any extra strain on the belly, because you don't want those muscles to open too much, because as we repair and recover, they've got to come back together. So you don't want to make that recovery time any longer or harder than it needs to be. So what we talk about in pregnancy yoga is not doing any crunching actions. That's when you're lying on your back and crunching forward. That sort of action makes the separation worse. Planks and things like that are fine because you're on hands and knees and supporting the muscles to be strong around this area and not opening those muscles up any further. So being aware that you're not doing any crunching actions, so no boats or things like that, but planks are fine, just making sure that you're working nice and gently. So a couple of other things to be aware of. Lying on your back can be an issue. It's not for everyone. Generally, it's the extra weight that's the problem. So as your body gets bigger, there's a main vein that runs down the back of the body. And as you're putting pressure on that, you can sometimes feel a little bit lightheaded. So my advice there would be, you can lay on the back, but just be aware that when you're feeling a little bit maybe dizzy or uncomfortable, it's time to move. So you might only be there for a short amount of time. Be careful of not overheating. So your body is like a little incubator with that baby inside you, and you need to be aware that when you're moving through yoga flow, you're going to be feeling it a lot more than someone who isn't pregnant. So just taking it back, taking rests when you need, and of course coming to child's pose whenever you need so that you don't build that temperature and that heat too much. And then finally, being aware that your blood pressure has changed. So I think by the end of pregnancy, there's something like 50% more blood in your body than previously. So for me personally, I experienced low blood pressure, which meant when I was going from high and low, so coming up from the floor to stand, I was like, woo, head spin. So be aware that that may be a case for you. If you've got high or low blood pressure, of course, you'd be working with your doctor on that and making sure you're following their recommendations. But just being aware that there is blood pressure changes going on, so a slow practice is a good practice when you're pregnant. You're not wanting to flow too much and not putting too much stress on the body. So that's it. I hope that answers your question on how to start a yoga practice and where to start when you're pregnant. If you want to get straight into a yoga flow, I'll link a pregnancy beginners class under this video so you can get straight into one. Otherwise, in my online yoga circle, there are lots of classes for pregnancy that you're welcome to start right away. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions that you would like to ask and you haven't yet already sent me an email, it's just bettina@bettinaray.com. I'd love to hear from you. Have a beautiful week and namaste.